What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Up in Flames. The last you see me of Up in Flames was in June or July. When were you here? July. It was in July, and it was a live episode with Chris LeBron. So it's been a minute. NFL is back, so it's only right to return and have my guy in the building. Unfortunately, we are not live. He was able to come visit Dallas at the same time I was here, so it was a great coincidence that we were able to link. Chris, how you been, bro?
I'm doing good, bro. Just been busy with work and all that, but football season is upon us. It's the first game of the year. Excited about my G-men this season, so I'm ready to go. I'm pumped.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll get into that right after this.
Tell you my problems, meditating my silence. But I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus. Brokenness feeling like sin, now no breath, low dollar. Used to be left on red, now all the girls go holler. Now all the girls go follow. All the fake fans gon' pile up. I need peace to borrow, get that shit right back tomorrow. Somehow all the fans go bravo. Smile so much to hide my sorrow. Faith is shaky in vibrato. I can't hold a frown too long. I can't stay down too long.
Once again, we are back and we are live. So we're not going to talk too much about the Chiefs-Lions game for the simple fact we are going live right now to kind of talk a little bit about the NFL season. But at the same time, if you're going to listen to the audio, you'll be listening to this on Friday. By then, anything we say about the Chiefs and Lions will have been seen, understood, and everybody will be breaking that down on Friday. I'm sure we'll do that this weekend at some point. But like I said, my guy Chris LeBron is back on the podcast, and we are going to preview just a couple topics since I haven't really talked NFL. I've done it on Ken's show. I've done it on Rob's show. I've done it on a few others, but at the same time, I haven't done it on Up in Flames. The last I recorded was in July. It's been hectic, been working a lot. Finally got some time to just chill, get back potting. Was able to record a couple of Field Stormers episodes with Walker. We got a steady schedule for that, so we'll give you 2 a week for sure. For Field Stormers every week, we're basically going to preview and recap. It's going to be our 2 episodes a week. Try and start getting some guests there. So I was able to kick back Field Stormers, which is 100% full focus in effect. But Chris, the NFL season is up on us. And I don't know, this year feels different, and it's not about my team. It's not about nothing with the Cowboys, bro. This year just feels like there's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of good football teams. There's some players on some mid-level football teams that we want to see take some jumps. Bro, there's been so much. I mean, the addition of Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, obviously, I feel like has a different feel in New York altogether. Now, they're going a little too far, talking about it's a Jets town now. You got to win some games before you do that. When you're talking about the Jets did make the playoffs last year and the Giants did. I'm sorry. I feel like you just can't make that claim when the Giants have run New York, for the past, 30 years, essentially?
Forever.
Yeah, I'm just saying, of recent memory that really of relative history that even matters.
That's how they made the playoffs, and I think they might have the longest drought, I think. So, since 2009. Right, that's the last when they went back-to-back AFC championships. So they can't claim nothing until they get to the playoffs first. So we got 2 wins in that span since they had the little 2-year run. We've been to the Super Bowl. We won 2 Super Bowls. So
yeah, and it's one of those, I think that leads into our first topic, which who's the most overrated, most overhyped team, overrated or overhyped? Coming into this season, I'm not going to go the Jets route for the simple fact I know you might because you're a New Yorker, or everybody just tired to talk about the Jets until they win some games and we can understand that they are overhyped. I think everybody thinks they're overhyped. I'm going to go with the team that plays tonight. I'm going to go the Detroit Lions, and I think it's going to be relatively worse if they beat Kansas City. And I understand Kansas City, no Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, which is a weird situation because he's holding out, but he's going to be at the stadium watching from a suite. He's going to be watching the game from a suite to see the Super Bowl the banner reveal or whatever. They're going to be celebrating winning the Super Bowl. But I think it's the Detroit Lions because I do think they got better. I'm never big on rookies making that much of an impact until they do it. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, they got Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's exactly what they needed. Oh my God, they got Jack Campbell on defense. So, that's exactly what they needed. I think they're a good team. And I think they have the possibility. I don't know. Maybe they win maybe they win their division. Maybe not. I think there's some things up in the air. I think we felt better about like Green Bay since seeing Jordan Love in the preseason. And I know like it's preseason, but that's all you have to go on. And I'm going to talk about preseason hype when I talk about my sleeper team, but that's all you have to go on. You've seen some plays. You know how to evaluate without overvaluing anybody. I think Jordan Love looked good. He looked like he's ready to go. Minnesota is still Minnesota. At the end of the day, they won a lot of close games. I just think, bro, Detroit, like, you would almost think they're Super Bowl contenders this year. God forbid they are, because then this will be on like freezing cold takes, at the end of the season that you called them the most overhyped team and then they reach the Super Bowl. But I just think it's the Detroit Lions. I think we're putting way too much in Jared Goff. He's really good. Like he's pretty good. He can win you a playoff game or two, but they're putting him like he's out of this category. Like he doesn't fall in the same category as Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Kyler Murray. Like that's the lump of quarterbacks that he fall into. And I think they're trying to lift him up a little more than that. So my most overhyped, I don't want to say overrated, just overhyped team. Nobody's really overrated until the season starts. So my most overhyped team is the Detroit Lions. Before we get to you, Rob's in the building. Rob, what's going on, bro?
How's it going, guys?
Hey, fully representing the USC. I see. Hey,
it's a better week this week.
If there's a year to represent, it's definitely this year for USC. They look like they could make some good things happen if you're just an optimistic fan and not kill them for everything that you want to kill them for. Chris, who's your most overhyped team?
The San Francisco 49ers.
Well, this is Brock Purdy slander incoming because I know how Chris feel about Brock Purdy. Boy.
It's not even Brock Purdy so much. It's more of like Kyle Shanahan and just the front office, like not like to go into the season with a Super Bowl ready roster, right? And to be like, we're going to go into this season at the time with Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and Brock Purdy, who destroyed his arm in the NFC Championship game, to me is it should be you should get arrested for that. Aaron Rodgers is right there. You're telling me like you're telling me that they didn't think about like, yo, we should go get Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be in Green Bay. Why don't we full court press and go get him? Because we get him, we're going to Super Bowl. Like they're a Super Bowl team. Like they're the favorites. Easily.
But are you able to sign Nick Bosa to that 5-year 100 and what he get?
You got
to get 170 or whatever.
177.
You figure it out. You may have to take less, but guess what? You got Aaron Rodgers, that quarterback. Then that's more. Listen, that's more a little bit more important than Joey Bosa. They still got a great defense even without Josie. But yes, Bosa's the defensive player of the year. He wreaks havoc. Yes, but guess what? If you got 12 back there, it makes up for if Bosa's missing.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers was able to be had the way we thought for San Francisco, though. Like it, I don't know. Did Rodgers want to go there? Like he still hasn't flat out like, oh yeah, San Francisco is number one on my list, but they weren't with me.
You know, Aaron, he ain't gonna say, yeah, I wanted to be a 49er and all that, but we didn't even hear the 49ers and like.
But didn't he say after he was done with that whole solo retreat, like he said he wanted to play for the Jets?
Yeah, like I want to be a Jet. Where my only thing with where you're coming from is okay. I'm with you on like. I think it was more of a miraculous run than an indictment on this is what San Francisco is about to be for the next 3 to 4 years. But if you're Kyle Shanahan, can you do what you just did 2 years ago? Your 7th round quarterback takes you to the NFC Championship game. He gets hurt. We understand that. They just 2 years ago went to the NFC Championship game with Jimmy Garoppolo, turn around and trade up and give a king's ransom to draft Trey Lance because they said that wasn't good enough.
Exactly.
Do you turn around and do the same thing, essentially the same thing 2 years from now? You try and go into the situation without fully admitting you're wrong about Trey Lance. That's another thing. You ain't want to. You last minute admitted you were wrong about Trey Lance.
So they were dead wrong about Trey Lance, right? Obviously, they
know
realized
that, it's different to self-admit that.
Yeah, but now you know. All right, well, if you go after Aaron Rodgers, you know what the hell Aaron Rodgers is. Like, even with a down year for Aaron Rodgers, that's better than anything in the guy, and that might be good enough with the weapons they have to get to the Super Bowl. And like, I just don't get how. And regard, so they don't get Aaron Rodgers. Like, you telling me you're going into the season with the three quarterbacks they had? All right, they got rid of Lance. You know what? A few weeks ago, they realized they butchered that situation and terribly. But it seems like they keep butchering the quarterback position, and that's cost them maybe a couple Super Bowl or two. Like, this team is ready to. This is their window is not as open as people think. Like, Kittle is brittle. He's always hurt. You know, they got Deebo Samuel is a very physical guy. He might not, last for long. Like, Bosa, they got guys who might be getting up there like a little bit, and like that window closes quick. So like, why not capitalize on this window and go after an established quarterback? And I know Purdy was solid last year, but to go into with his elbow and all that, and then you got Sam Darnold and with the Lance situation, like, I don't know. For me,
I'll tell you why.
I just have my gut is telling me that I can see this season not going as well as people thinking, like people saying Super Bowl, at least NFC Championship. I could see. I wouldn't be surprised if I think Seattle could maybe jump them. I could see that. In a way. I think Seattle. I'm still trying to figure out Geno Smith. Like, it's hard to like be fully in because it's still Geno Smith. But so I don't know. It's just a weird situation. I don't trust the 49ers. I don't trust the quarterback situation. The injuries could be injuries to key position players. I don't know. Just not feeling them. I don't like how they handle the quarterback situation stuff, and I think that could backfire them really bad. So I think they're kind of very overrated.
Well,
Rob, they are overrated in my opinion.
Before we go to you, Rob, we got another special guest in the building. Ken, grace us with his presence a little bit before he hang out and go watch. Probably what I assume hanging out and watching an opening kickoff, Lions versus Chiefs. Ken, what's going on?
Figured I couldn't miss the rare opportunity that you podcast, so I should probably hop on and actually.
Hey, I don't feel. Hey, all I'm saying. All I'm saying is I've launched Phil Stormers. I've graced your show with my president and with Rob. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I ain't been all the way dead to the world where it's like, oh, you just go away for months. I at least pop up here and there. Just might not be on UpNFlamez. So, Rob, who's your most overhyped team?
Trying to go different from you guys. I'm gonna go LA Chargers. I'm not completely sold on Justin Herbert. I wasn't sold on him coming out of the draft.
What do you mean by not sold on him though? Like
he's not worth the money. What they just paid him is that's gonna be detrimental, and that's gonna be the single biggest reason that team and he alone never wins a Super Bowl, never makes it close. Because yes, he puts up numbers. Cool.
Dang.
He puts up numbers. You know who else put up numbers? Jameis Winston. 30 and 30, or was it 50 and 50 one year? He was balling.
30 for 30.
He did throw for 30, but he did throw over 5,000 yards that year too.
Right. And he was balling.
Who cares? I don't care if you threw over 9,000 yards. You threw 30 interceptions, bro.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
To ruin
That's
games.
what I'm saying. That roster reminds me a little bit of San Francisco. What Chris was just saying, the roster is kind of built to win right now. Austin Eckler is still, you can argue he's still in his prime. He might come down this season a little bit, but he's still in his prime. Still got Mike Williams. That defense is solid. You have the pieces right there to win a Super Bowl. But I don't think Justin Herbert is the answer. And what they just paid him is going to hurt them down the road. Even outside of just the whole, I don't believe in paying quarterbacks a truckload of money to begin with, but him specifically, not worth the money.
Damn. Like,
is he a YouTube quarterback, like Colin Cowherd would say? Is he a YouTube quarterback?
Yeah.
He might be. He might be a YouTube quarterback.
I think this year will be very telling. I will say that. Like, I feel like there should be some pressure. Like, I feel like they're getting a lot of hype and there's not a lot of pressure put on what's going on over there because you didn't fire your coach when everybody thought you might go get Sean Payton. You went and hired an offensive coordinator that had, okay, if Justin Herbert's top 5, Kellen Moore had a top 10-ish quarterback, 10-ish, for sake of argument. And it was what was that offense the whole time under Kellen Moore? Empty calories. They're putting up numbers, but it's not leading to big time wins. So I could see the Chargers being in the same boat. I just think Justin Herbert a little bit better than Rob has a point because he's not really winning in the playoffs. So it could be like, hey, you're
not really winning. He is not. He's made the playoffs once.
He's only been in 3 years though. This is year 4.
Same as Joe Burrow, who's been in the playoffs all but 1 year.
This is the second best quarterback in football.
But that's my point though. You look at what he did with the roster, the roster he took to the Super Bowl. That terrible offensive line, giving Jamar Chase dog, T. Higgins, he has him and
they could have won it too.
Team. They should have won it.
Yeah,
they should have won it. But
with all those deficiencies,
Herbert has had a better team from the start than what Joe Burrow had, and still has not been able to do. He hasn't been able to come close to Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not I don't fully disagree with you, only because bro, the point is the YouTube quarterback, you do that in the regular season and it all looks good and you make the amazing throws, but then you give up a 4-touchdown lead when Trevor Lawrence handed you a game. He handed you a game. You could blame whoever, but the offense didn't score no more points. You could blame it on the defense falter, but at the same time, the offense, all they had to do was score one more time in the second half. Trevor Lawrence handed you a game and then turned around, played absolutely amazing, outplayed you as an individual in the second half. Obviously, that was based on your defense, but still, Herbert should have a playoff win and a possible chance of possibly 2, but he ended up blowing it. I think there's a lot more pressure on the Chargers than people want to admit. I will say that. They're getting a lot of hype, but where's the pressure? Because they'll put the pressure on some
pressure. I think they give I think for some reason the Chargers get away with a lot of stuff that if they were, another team, it just the pressure is just not there for some reason. It's weird
because let me I'll answer it like this.
Because if Herbert was any other team, we would put pressure on some of these quarterbacks, but Herbert, some reason, he doesn't get the same flack as he probably maybe should if
he's in Mahomes' division. He gets a pass.
There you go. Now that's what I was trying to say. Any other division, the spotlight would be on, but nobody expects the Chargers to win the division. Nobody's saying that they're going to go toe to toe with the Chiefs. They're expected to finish second every year, get a wild card berth, and maybe do something from there. Put them in any other division on any other team. And given last year, you had what Derek Carr, the complete disaster that Derek Carr was in Vegas last year, and then also the even bigger disaster that Russell Wilson was in Denver. It took a lot of the media attention off of Herbert and the Chargers.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Especially the Russell Wilson stuff. Yeah, Russell Wilson playing like a below average, super below average quarterback. That kind of, and actually Patrick Mahomes, it kind of took away from Justin Herbert. And I feel like he's kind of benefited from that. But now that he's paid, he's the highest paid quarterback, right? Or did Lamar pass him?
Lamar passed him, and then Joe Burrow's about to pass him by Sunday.
But at the time, being for a minute, he was the highest paid quarterback. Now it's different. It's a different atmosphere now. Now, hey man, you're the highest paid quarterback or one of the top 2 highest paid quarterback. We got to see something. It's you get a pass. You were on the rookie contract. You're under the radar. Now you're the top paid man. Everyone thinks you're the top 5 quarterback. You think you're an MVP candidate. Show us, man. Because if you don't show us, then what? What if they go 7-10 or 8-9? It's dude, you got all the weapons in the world. People would kill for the weapons. And they drafted a first round wide receiver, the kid from TCU. He's got the weapons. He's got a running back, solid offensive line. They got a new Kellen Moore at the coordinator position who's gonna try to elevate him. I know the coach is a little suspect and all that, and his time management is a little whatever. But if you want to take that next level and be Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes or even Josh Allen, You got to be able to
And
perform.
Justin Herbert is the highest paid quarterback. His average per year is 52,500,000 per year.
$52 million. Hey, I need you
paid
better
after
be an
Lamar,
MVP
didn't he?
candidate.
Yeah, he did. He got paid after Lamar.
Okay.
That's the only reason why.
better
And
be
that's the thing.
MVP.
Looking at the whole list of the top paid quarterbacks, not to get too far because I do want to get to Ken. Justin Herbert's the highest paid, $52.5 million. Lamar Jackson right behind him, $52 million. Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson, 51 and 49 million respectively. Each have at the very least been to a Super Bowl. Then you got Kyler Murray, who's probably not even going to play this year. Deshaun Watson, who hasn't done anything. Then you got Patrick Mahomes at 45 million. Josh Allen, Stafford, and Prescott. Like it goes back to my point. The amount of money that these teams spend on quarterbacks is the reason they don't win Super Bowls.
Shit. Where's Daniel Jones? Where's Daniel Jones on there?
Higher than he should be.
He's right behind Dak.
Dak.
They like make the same pretty much. So Ken, who's your most overhyped team?
Crazy, man. It's crazy.
I love hearing all that Chargers chatter, especially since I bet Herbert to win MVP this year. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
That's still possible. We're more talking
Herbert could very well win MVP and then get bounced in the first round again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm not taking them anywhere past that. I bet their over win total at 9.5. I bet him to win MVP. I'm not taking him to win any playoff game after that, but I just think that they could have a great regular season. I think Green Bay stinks. I'm seeing a lot of people who have that outside shot of like they're going to be the 6th or 7th playoff team in the NFC. And can we just cut this crap that they're a good football team?
Bro, they've reverted to the fact of them winning the division now. Like people are talking themselves into them winning the division.
I think the thing around this team is everyone's acting like Aaron was a big problem last year, and this was such a like good team outside of him, and he was such a distraction. And I'm like, I just don't see it. Like people love to go like, yeah, they've got 2 great running backs. Like we all didn't crap on AJ Dillon all of last year for getting like 3 yards a carry. So let's cut it with the run game. You got a bunch of second-year weapons that were very hit and miss throughout the season. So I'm not just thinking that Jordan Love's going to step in and be some great quarterback, which, by the way, I don't think that he is. I think he's going to have.
We don't even know what he is. We have no clue.
I don't think he's very good in the regular season action that I've seen. I don't want to hear preseason. Baker Mayfield looked great in preseason, and we know how that's going to look this season. So I'm just not in on Green Bay being a playoff team. I think they are actually the 4th best team in their division. I said it on my show with Cole. I just don't believe in this team. I think they win 6 games. I think they're like 6-11, and we're like, oh, okay. So like Jordan Love, we have to start making decisions of maybe we don't have that next 15-year quarterback in our locker room, and maybe we should be pursuing other options. That's my thoughts. I think that it's easy to pick on any AFC team to be overrated because at the end of the day, there's going to be some good teams that miss the playoffs in the AFC.
I was about to say that, yep.
Trying to find that hidden gem in the NFC because you think that there's great betting odds around the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers. Like, can we just cut it out? That's just not the case. Those teams are probably a couple years away, and I think Green Bay has higher expectations than even Chicago does, but everyone's talking themselves in the fields for MVP. So,
well, going on to the next one, we know who Ken's sleeper team isn't. It will not be the Green Bay Packers.
It will not be the Green Bay Packers.
Well, I'm gonna have to sleep on the couch for that take too, because that's my wife's team. So, like, if she's listening, like, I'm screwed. But
so, like, okay, so for sleeper team, I want to put this isn't like who's your sleeper to win the Super Bowl. This is just like a team that maybe some others are out on, squeezing into the playoffs. It could be like, hey, they're sneaky pick to win the Super Bowl, but it's not strictly like who's the sleeping giant to make the NFC or AFC championship. It's just like, what's a team that you think is going to outdo expectations? I'll start back around the clock. Rob, you go first.
Y'all are going to hate me for this.
Just be biased.
Because looking at all the teams, I got to say the Commanders because Sam Howell, I love the way Sam Howell looked in the preseason. I like the way he looked week 18 last season against a number one, against one of the top defenses in the league, and got a new offensive coordinator, which whatever these players think about him, irrelevant, because I don't care if he's yelling. I don't care if he's calling their mama sideways. I don't care. You know, if they look good in the preseason, Terry McLaurin, he's still gonna be number one receiver. Jahan Dotson has potential to break out and be kind of what Juju Smith-Schuster was in Pittsburgh when they had AB. That talk of he could be a one on some other teams, and just the versatility of somebody like Curtis Samuel that Eric Bieniemy is going to be able to use. Defense, obviously, defense looked good last year as well. Kept us in a lot of games. Big reason why we went on that 4-game winning streak. And I don't want to be biased. I don't do this on purpose, but just looking at the teams,
I don't want to be biased, but I'm gonna pick my team.
Because a lot of people are sitting here still saying Washington's going to have a top 5 draft pick, and I just don't see it.
No, I don't see
it at all.
I had them at
top
20.
6. Just top 6. That's it.
Bro, them bottom teams, like them bottom 4 is like pretty bad. And then like after that, you're like, but them bottom 4 is bad. Like, they're worse than that bottom 4.
If you're bad in the AFC, like you're just at such a disadvantage to NFC teams, knowing that
a bad to mediocre NFC team is probably still sneak in to that 7 seed.
Bro, you're talking about a team like Buffalo. I'm not saying Buffalo misses the playoffs. I'm just saying hypothetically, like there's a world where the AFC East is really great and Buffalo or Miami or the Jets don't make it but go 10-7. Like there's a world where that happens. I'm not saying it's going to be the Bills. There's a world where freaking Lamar Jackson doesn't make the playoffs going 10-7. Like we're talking about 3 wins over 500 and like 10-7, maybe even 11-6. Like the AFC is good enough. You might lose a tiebreaker for the 7th seed at 11-6. Like that's very
2008 because remember 2008 when Brady blew out his knee, the Patriots went 11-5 and they missed the playoffs. So it
there was that one year where the Bucks went 10-6 and missed the playoffs when Josh Freeman was the quarterback. Like I remember that they were 10-6 and a good team and missed the playoffs.
Remember Josh Freeman? I thought he was going to be that dude.
He was actually pretty good that one year though. But Ken, who is your sleeper team? Who is you're the betting guy, so I know you've already thought about this and you got some money on whoever you're about to say. On one of their futures. Whatever your sleeper team is, you have money on this.
I can't help but think that you made that sound like I have a problem, but I'm gonna move past it.
Ken.
Maybe I have 45 future bets. Maybe. Who's to say, really? Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are the best team in the NFC South. I really do believe that. I'm not a big believer in the Saints. I think they have a very good offensive core of weapons. I like their defense. I think they lost a lot of close games early in the season. I like what the defense is doing as well. I think that that's a sleeper team that can win that division. I'm not going to act like they're world beaters. As you said, this isn't who's going to win the NFC, but when you have to win a division with quarterbacks of Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Derek Carr, I don't think that it's off the table that Desmond Ridder has the team around him to lead them to the playoffs. So I think the Falcons are a sleeper team, and you can get them at plus 200 to win the division.
I knew you'd know. You got him at plus 200 to win the division.
No, I got him at plus 210 because I'm better than everyone else, and I found better.
Well, you caught him early. It didn't change now. So, I'm just saying, I knew you was going to have money on whoever you was going to say for sleeper, and then you had the odds down pat. Falcons. That's tough. Screw the Falcons.
I feel like, and no disrespect, Ken, because I value your opinion a lot. I feel like
no disrespect,
the Falcons is such a cop-out answer just because that division is going to be so bad. Like we look at the worst divisions in the league going into the season, and that looks like it's going to be the worst one.
But like we're sleeping on that whole division. We're only giving the Saints credit. Like people are literally only talking about New Orleans when they talk about the NFC.
They're talking about Derek Carr like he's Derek Carr from like 4 years ago.
I'm over Derek Carr. Like,
can we stop this? Derek Carr is still like a good quarterback. Like he's a starter in the league, but he's not what he was when he had a near MVP season with the Raiders. So I just look at the rosters top to bottom. I don't like Bryce Young personally, so maybe that's why I'm out on Carolina. I see a lot of people.
You don't like him personally.
Well, he's fine.
I mean, like player-wise.
That's fair, because I don't like Desmond Ridder.
He didn't DM back and forth, and he said that he hated Canada, so we're good on that front. But,
he hates Canada.
Who doesn't? But I do think I just like that roster. I like how well coached they are as well. I really do like Arthur Smith, so I don't think that's crazy to have the Falcons. They're the second best odds to win the division.
No, I don't think it's that.
It wasn't crazy. It was just because that division is so.
Keep in mind, last year the division winner was 8-9, and the other 3 teams were 7-10. They all went 7-10 last year. So
yeah, it came close.
It's the definition of a toss-up. And when you watch the Falcons, how many leads they blew late in the year because Mariota made terrible decisions. And they've
the quarterback situation serious.
Yeah. Now he's the backup in Philly.
Yeah. So, Chris, who is your sleeper team? My Giants. Just keep it going. Every other one, because I'm not going Cowboys, obviously.
I could say the Giants, but we'll talk about the Giants.
Are they really a sleeper team, though? People think they'll go to the playoffs. They're not anything more than that.
I think it's weird to say it, but the Steelers, I kind of feel like the last few years they've been on the radar, and I feel like this year they're going to kind of go back to Steelers, the Steelers of old, and be relevant. Like, we got TJ Watt's going to be healthy. Still got Cam Hayward. Micah Fitzpatrick is a ball hawk, maybe the best safety in football. And I think with Pickett and the weapons he has at receiver, I think Pickens is going to be a monster. I think he might emerge this year and all that. Still got Deontay Johnson. I like him. They got they drafted that kid Warren, who I really like. He might take who's their starting running back's name again? Najee Harris. I think I'm not saying he's gonna take his spot, but he's gonna make him, because Najee, I know he's like 3.8 yards a carry and all that. Warren, this kid is talented. I've liked him a lot, and I think he could do some things. So I think the Steelers like low key slept on, and
they went from having a bottom 5 O-line to having probably a mid-tier one, which is why I think both Najee and Warren will both look good this year.
I think they bounce back big. I usually don't like quarterbacks who wear gloves, but Pickett is he's different. I think he's gonna have a bounce back season with the gloves. So I think the Steelers are they're gonna be a playoff team, and I know they missed the playoff the last couple of years, I feel like, or last year. They'll bounce back. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be dangerous. I know everybody was on the Ravens and the Bengals. Also, the Bengals low-key overrated too, I think. I
said on what, Ken, I want to say it was your show. I said I think the Steelers slip into the playoffs.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I was going to say I want to see.
They went 9-8 last year, despite missing pretty much everybody. So I don't think.
Look at all the injuries they had last year, and they almost made it. Like, I feel like,
and Tomlin doesn't go under 500, so he's continued that streak. So
that dude,
but I think we also said that with the Steelers, you're going to learn a lot about in week 1, because you're going up against San Fran, who's one of those teams that they're like second best odds to win the NFC. They maybe don't have the quarterback play, but you're going to see how they measure up against a good D-line, which they're going to have to do all year in that division.
Yeah.
I think it's a good test game of, like, if they get blown out by the 49ers at home, then I'm probably out on Pittsburgh. But if they even keep it close, then I could talk myself into them being good.
All right, y'all going to kill me for this. Really, because I think, like, I wanted to go a different direction. So now I'm going to just spice it up a little bit. I'm going to go to Denver Broncos. I'm going to say the Denver Broncos because I think people think the Denver Broncos, I think people think they're going to be absolutely horrible. And I know what Jerry Jeudy's hurt, so he's going to miss a couple games at the very least, but he wasn't put on IR. He wasn't put on IR, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's like 1 to 2 weeks. He'll miss. I know they got some injury prone guys. Javonte Williams is coming off, but like, look how we valued Denver last year. Like there's a lot of people who thought Denver was going to be a damn good team last year. And then as bad as Russell Wilson played, and I get it, bro. He played absolutely terrible. I'm no longer a believer. I actually would stop becoming a believer the year before last, because the year before that, I was all for Russell Wilson winning MVP. But I just think, bro, with Sean Payton, you're not going to get nearly half the bad coaching mistakes that we saw, even in close games against bad teams. Like, you saw coaching mistakes, and then bad quarterback play didn't help it. I think Russell Wilson going to be all in. I think his job is essentially on the line. Like, Sean Payton don't play that BS, bro. He not finna sit here and let you become more of a celebrity than good quarterback or good football player. This is a dude that, like, bro, Russell Wilson has been to the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson is a good quarterback. Like, I know he's coming off a bad year, so it's tough to, like, die on that hill. But like, bro, this man is good. Ken's about to go. Appreciate you, Ken, for just jumping in for a second.
Go Lions.
Y'all know I'm riding with 15 all the way. But like, bro, I think the expectation for the Broncos is so low with Sean Payton, bro, who can, bro, with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Javonte Williams, like he can make something shake offensively where they could score some points. They have a really good defense. They don't have to score 30 points a game to win. This isn't a team where it's going to ride on Russell Wilson averaging 325 yards and 4 touchdowns a game. And I just think everybody's so out on Russell Wilson, and kind of Sean Payton was able to step away from the game. So like you kind of forget how good he was offensively, and like even knew how to use a Taysom Hill and knew how to win games when Drew Brees was out with Jameis Winston. Like it's not like he hasn't won a few games here and there with less. The Broncos won how many games last year? 5 or 6?
I think 5. Like
5 with what? 3 games just flat out blown on coaching mistakes. Probably 2 more games blown on absolutely horrible quarterback play in that stretch. Missing weapons here and there. Like if you get them back healthy after the first couple of weeks, and Sutton can, if he could stay healthy, and obviously that's a big if when the guy does get hurt. But at the end of the day, everybody comes into the season when they are healthy. I don't wish injury upon them. I hope they can stay healthy. So I just really feel like the way everybody so out on Denver, bro, they have an opportunity to be pretty good. Like, and I'm not saying they're not going to win the division. They might not even sneak into the playoffs, but I think in that week 16, 17, and 18, they're going to be right there. And if things shake their way, and they could kind of control, or they need a team to lose while they're sitting at there, because very well, some of these AFC teams schedule, I almost don't see a team not winning. If you don't win 10 games, I think that's the bar to make the playoffs. But then again, certain teams don't meet expectations. Injuries do happen. And if things shook their way, they could be a 8 to 10 win team, improving upon the first year of Sean Payton, and find themselves where even if they don't make the playoffs, they were in that conversation the last 3 weeks. They had everything to play for. And I don't think people think the Denver Broncos are that. Like, I think they think they're one of the bottom 7 to 8 teams in the league and won't be playing for nothing past week 12 or 13. Like, it'll essentially be Sean Payton out on Russell Wilson. There's people going out here saying Russell Wilson gets benched, and Jarrett Stidham comes in, and you essentially finish the last 6 or 7 games, seeing as Stidham is better than Russell Wilson, or tanking and getting trade packages together for one of these quarterbacks, whether it's Drake May or, Sean Payton spends heavy on every quarterback's pro day and things like that. Like, I just don't see it being one of those seasons. I think they're going to be with Russell Wilson through majority of his contract, because I think Sean Payton going to give him the right mentality, and he's going to come in a little bit different. You're not going to see celebrity Russell Wilson
with him for at least 2 more years, because that cap hit is crazy.
Yeah, that cap hit is absolutely insane. And if he doesn't work with Sean Payton, everybody's going to be all out on Russell Wilson. Nobody's trading for that contract. That's 100% sure.
Let me ask you something on Russ quick, because obviously the way last year was, that's a big indictment on him. But let's say, I don't think he's gonna play as bad as last year. I just, that was a lot of Nathaniel Hackett and all that. But let's say it's a not a Russell Wilson year, not even that. Let's say it's a below average year again. Does this hurt his Hall of Fame chances, you think?
I think so, because you're stuck with him, or he doesn't, like, if this is who he is, or close to it, if he's just slightly above better than who he was last year, then you're talking about for the next 3 to 4 years, that's how he's gonna play. Like, you're talking about closing out bad your last 5 or 6 years. Like, it, in a sense, bro, it becomes, we're not getting into it. All I'm saying is this statement. We're not going any farther than this. It becomes the Eli Manning conversation. Like, yes, he got the 2 Super Bowls, but either he was average outside of that, or the rest of his career. I think with Russell Wilson, the thing was, he's not average outside of the Super Bowls, but I mean, your last 5 or 6 years, your last 3 to 4 years being bad, injury prone, that could be an indictment. So yes, if he plays below average, you start to think about it, especially if you start to project, like, bro, Buddy got an insane cap hit. He's either going to be a bench player, or you're stuck with him sucking for the next couple of years until we can get off that contract. So I would say it could be like that. It starts to turn into that Eli argument. Like, yeah, he got 2 Super Bowls, but look at the end of his career. Look what he was outside of that. That's what I think it could be with Russell Wilson. So I would say, yeah, I think he has to at least play good. He's got to be a top 15 quarterback. I don't think that should be a tough ask for Russell Wilson, who's like essentially been a top 10 quarterback until last year. We're asking you to be 5 spots below what you've been.
Top 3. I mean, at one point, he was probably the 3rd best quarterback, at least. at one point.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying top 10, like
Top five
any
at
given
worst.
year in top 10. You know, he's had a couple years top 3, top 5, but like any given year, he's easily been top 10. I feel like there's been no argument about that until last year. And so, like, if you could get into that top 15 and you just be good, I think all Sean Payton needs is good enough. He took a team like Drew Brees with a shot shoulder to the playoffs. Like, in that stretch when Drew Brees missed a few games, he was winning games with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. So it's not like Sean Payton hasn't won some games here and there with mid quarterbacks. So if you can't just be mid and win some games with a good roster, Sean Payton gonna fire your ass up and you gonna be up out of
this is where having like regular season accolades helps, because if Russell Wilson had an MVP on his on his mantle, maybe that if he does have a couple bad years in the crash, he still probably gets in the Hall of Fame because he has the MVPs, and that holds a lot of weight.
Yeah,
you
but
know, because the fact, listen, like Matt Ryan, look at Matt Ryan. Like, there's still a chance Matt Ryan could be a Hall of Famer because of that MVP season. Like, obviously, if he won the Super Bowl, I think he would be a Hall of Famer. But like that MVP, we're always going to be like, yeah, but Matt Ryan did win an MVP. He did take the team to the Super Bowl, and they were, they should have won the Super Bowl. So like,
and they had some
where, like, for Russ not winning an MVP maybe hurts, because that could, yeah, he didn't. He had a bad couple last years, but he's an MVP and all that, So I don't know. That's just my thinking.
Yeah, I just really it's because, like, bro, I just think Denver's getting so disrespected that, I mean, it's not hard to exceed expectations. So I guess that's a cop out saying I think Denver could exceed expectations, but I just think they could be that team where they find themselves in the playoff hunt a lot later than people think. Like, people think by week 4 or 5 they're kind of out on Denver, and we know they're going to be able to start 1-4.
Guys are hurt though. Like, you're trusting your running back coming off an ACL. Judy, your best receiver, is going to miss the first few weeks of the season. Sutton had an injury last year. You got a lot of uncertainty on the offensive line. I know Sean Payton's there, but I don't know. I know the defense is great and all that, and we're expecting, because you go from Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton, and that's probably the best. That's a massive upgrade. But like, this roster is, I don't know.
And I've seen Sean Payton make Marquise Colston look like a Hall of Famer. That's all I'm saying. I know he had Drew Brees, but
the injuries. That's my thing. It's not the talent. It's not the talent of the guys, because they have the receivers. Judy could be special if he's ever healthy. Sutton too is a solid receiver, and that tight end, what's his name? Dutch. I forgot what his name is, but he's solid.
His name.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't. I don't. They just, the injuries worry me and all that. I think maybe next year they might be, but I don't know.
I think the defense being good and you cutting down a lot of the coaching mistakes and slight better quarterback play than last year makes you a lot better team than you were last year. I mean, a couple games was on coaching mistakes flat out, and then a couple games was bad quarterback play. So if I've upgraded the fact that I think Russell Wilson is going to play better under Sean Payton, and I get rid of those coaching mistakes that Sean Payton is not known for and won't do, like, for the most part, I mean, everybody has a hiccup here or there, but I don't think we're going to see the bad coaching throughout games like we did with Nathaniel Hackett. I think, like, even just upgrading coaching and expecting Russell Wilson to play better already makes the Broncos better. But some
guys need to just stay as coordinators, and Nathaniel Hackett is a perfect example of, like, just be a coordinator.
No, Nathaniel Hackett should only be a coordinator with the Aaron Rodgers team, because some guys aren't even that great. They just have a great quarterback to master. So we have Rob on here, right? And so, listen, I'm not good with all this presentation stuff. I was trying to figure it out before the show, but it doesn't matter because you guys have it on your phone, so I can just flash it up here. But I'm glad Rob was able to join, because he is the guy who coordinated this graphic. He is the guy that put this idea together and got us all as NFL analyst collectives at Off the Ball Network. And if I'm not mistaken, pretty much everybody that's in at least the NFL world submitted. Oh, boom. See, Rob know what he's doing, man. So Rob is actually here to help me, but he know what he's doing. But without further ado, the Off the Ball Network power rankings, if they pop up, and here they go. These are the Off the Ball Network power rankings, but this is all shout out to Rob. He put all this together. He got all this. He tallied up. This came up. This is as a collective. Some of us have certain teams, different places, and that's why we're also here to discuss. But Rob, I'm going to hand you the floor with the first question. Who is your biggest, where's your biggest question mark within the rankings?
I want to say the Cleveland Browns. And the reason I say that is because, so for those of you that don't know, the reason these are the official network power rankings is because all the people who who chose to participate. They all sent me their rankings 1 through 32. I put them in an Excel spreadsheet, ranked them for each person, and then took the average. And whatever the average is, that's where they fall in. That's what you see on the screen. So the Browns were weird to me because somebody had them, I want to say, as high as 9. I didn't have them very high, but somebody I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. I think somebody had them at like 9 or 10, and I thought that was weird because yes, they got Deshaun Watson, but I mean it's the Browns. I don't think their roster is really ready for that yet, especially considering how tough the AFC North is. My biggest question mark, definitely for sure, is the Browns.
Yeah, I had the Browns at 17, and I had the Vikings ahead of them, I had the Giants ahead of them, and I had the Steelers ahead of them. So the teams directly behind outside of New Orleans, I had those three teams ahead of them. They got to prove it, bro. Like the Browns, the Jets, like now I am higher on the Jets because they borderline missed the playoffs, and we're talking about this was an elite defense last year. And so when you do have weapons and get to add a quarterback, I'm not going to say you got to prove it. You're going to be the typical bum Jets that we're used to, and I'm going to put you at 18. Like I'm going to put some respect on Aaron Rodgers and the way they were able to bring in players and knowing what they had coming back from last year, we felt like they were a quarterback away. But like the Browns hype is essentially like we're just flat out planning on Deshaun Watson to be like returned back to like borderline MVP form. Like he was playing like an MVP caliber player. And so I have to see it. Like sitting a whole year away from football, obviously, like a year and a half, basically, you seen it, at the end of last year when he did come back. Like he had some bright moments, but essentially, like he didn't look like the same Deshaun Watson. And then I think he's going to look a little rusty at first. Like, bro, like majority of players are the first couple of weeks. I mean, what is it? We used to say that the season doesn't start till after week 4. That's when really the season starts. That's when you start to see who teams really are. Maybe a good team like a Kansas City Chiefs loses to the Colts, and then we're like, oh, that loss didn't even matter then. Like it was a hiccup along the road of getting rolling for getting that midseason form. So I'm with you on the Browns. Chris, what rank is there somebody that really stand out to you, positive or negative or both?
Not really. I'm not really tripping over. I feel like everybody maybe like, I mean, we could nitpick like a team, maybe a slot or two, but I honestly, when we did it, I was like, I think these are pretty good rankings. Like I had the Giants kind of in that middle territory. I think I had them 14th and all that. They're at 16th. I ain't tripping over that. I had the Browns, I think 14th. But to be honest, maybe the Dolphins I would have a little bit higher, because I don't know. I'm really high on the. I know it's hard. It's tough to be high on the Dolphins when their quarterback is Tua, not because of the talent, but like the injuries and all that. But yeah, no, I don't really have any issues with this. To be honest, like I said, I think that the 49ers are a little overrated, but going into the season, I mean, I think they're in the right spot. Even the Cowboys, I mean, I could say maybe they put them a couple notches down, same with the Jets and all that, but it's always tough to figure out preseason, power rankings, but I'm not tripping over. Maybe you have the Steelers a little bit higher, but to be honest, I think this is I've seen a lot of power rankings, and to be honest, I think our power rankings are actually pretty solid, to be honest. Not to toot our horn, but I think our power rankings are pretty solid. So no, I don't really have that much argument.
Well, Rob would know because he looked at everybody's. So I would assume, was it a unanimous 32 for the Cardinals?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I did. I don't even think that's a debate.
Well, it was my biggest question. Is like, okay, at 32, like I'm like, unless somebody thought like maybe the Texans would be worse than the Cardinals, like I figured like, bro, it's got to be unanimous. Like it's kind
Tampa
of
31
in the world of the NFL that the Cardinals are going to be the worst team, and that was that when they released Colt McCoy and traded for Josh Dobbs, and we're like, oh, you're going to rock with Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune. Not that I thought Colt McCoy was going to win. Not that I thought Colt McCoy was going to win 10 games or nothing, but like I was like, oh, the Cardinals could suffice, and they could decide to bring Kyler Murray, and he's 3-3 through 6 games, and then Kyler Murray take over, and they win about 6 or 7 games. Like I thought that'd be accurate enough, but then they did their moves, and I'm like, bro, like, tell me you want Caleb Williams without just yelling at me directly that you want Caleb Williams. My biggest, I don't have a problem at all. I think people were a little bit lower on Washington than myself. I had them a few notches higher. I actually had them at 20. And even I felt like I should have them a couple slots higher than 20, like in that 18-ish. But then like I'm kind of looking at the collective. I guess based on these rankings, I would have them at 19. I would have them better than Denver, Green Bay, Tennessee, and Atlanta. Would be like, so I think everybody kind of fell out lower because if I had them at 20 and then the average of, like somebody had them probably at like 26, 27. And I think that's way too low for Washington.
The only disrespectful person was Ken. He had him at 30.
Jesus Christ. Well, he really had him at 30.
That makes me feel better by having him at 25.
Bro, yeah. Rob kicked me out when I was just joking and saying 32 Commanders. Like I was
what my thing is with the Commanders is just if you tell me Chase Young has a monster season and Sam Howell is solid, then I could say, okay, they're in middle of the pack. But
Chase Young getting traded at the deadline.
Chase Young
more of trade bait if he's healthy because they're not going to pay him. So like
they're not paying him obviously because they declined his 5th year. So like we've seen guys in contract years have monster years and all that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had a 15 sack season, but I don't know. Too many injuries for him. I don't know where his body is right now. And so there's just a lot of questions at some key, like the quarterback position and with Chase Young. So it's just hard to figure out. And then the division's tough and all that. Like they have the talent. Like their defensive line is tremendous. Jonathan Allen's a monster. Montez Sweat's a beast and all. Like they got weapon, and then they got
one of the best front fours in the
banged up. I don't know. It's just those. Like not forgetting about the division and like whatever. Taking that off. It's just there's just some concerns I have with like key positions, and then the coaching. That coaching situation's kind of in. We don't even know if coach is going to last. And I love Ron Rivera. He's a Hispanic. I root for, there's not a lot of Hispanic head coaches, if any. I think he's the only one, maybe.
He's the only one.
So, like, I don't want to see the man get fired because then that means there's no Hispanic head coaches. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders, like, if they start the season off 1-4, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Eric Bieniemy as the head coach. So, like, I think that's what they're kind of waiting for Bieniemy to be the guy, there. If he's, but the players, unless they keep complaining that the practices are too hard. But I don't know, just there's certain positions that there's just too much. I'm not certain about, so that's why I'm kind of low on them because of that. If they had a quarterback that I trusted more, but we'll see with Sam Howell. That they're giving him a shot, and I wish more teams would do what they're doing, give 5th round picks more of a chance and all that, but.
Hot take since we're at the Commanders and there are 2 teams in that bubble of where I said they are. Hot take. I think Washington Commanders are a bad start away from firing Ron Rivera, upgrading Eric Bieniemy, continuing to suck, hoping certain things shake out certain ways in college football, and call Ryan Day. I'm not calling for Ryan Day's job while saying that. Listen to me. And listen. No, I'm not, because I don't think Ryan Day should be fired.
Ohio wants him fired.
Listen, I don't care about them. I do not want him fired. Trust and believe I am not on that side. But Washington, there was rumors like 2 years ago after he was like uberly successful, didn't win the national championship. Remember coming out of the COVID year when he won the went to the national championship, there was a lot of like he was linked to possibly being like the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Let's say Sam Howell turns out pretty decent or Washington is pretty bad. I don't think they'll be bad enough to get a top quarterback, but let's say they are. You upgraded Eric Bieniemy. You proved it didn't work as well, even though you didn't get him handed the card. Hey, we had a tryout. Ryan Day could be available, and here's where I think Ryan Day could be available. If Ohio State doesn't beat Michigan and everybody panic and all this, and Tennessee Titans suck, and Mike Vrabel will entertain being the Ohio State coach. That's my hot take, is that Titans absolutely suck. Mike Vrabel finally considers being a college coach. He said he never would, but there's only one place that we know he would go, and if that availability happens, it's because the Tennessee Titans suck, and everybody just kind of mutually start to agree the only person that gets fired is Ron Rivera. That is my That is or they keep Eric Bieniemy as a head coach and have Ryan Day as offensive coordinator for a year, and then
hold up. Why would Ryan Day go from being the head coach of no? He's making good money. He's not going to get more money being offensive coordinator. Why would he go from being the head coach of a top 5 program in the country, the head coach of the top 5
offensive coordinator in the NFL,
being the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders?
You know why? Because you got to start somewhere.
No, you don't know. No, you know that's not going to happen. He's going to go to being the head coach. Bro, come on. No,
listen, bro, because you're going to make it like I'm
do that. That doesn't even make. Would you advise him to? Like, nobody would even advise him. That doesn't even make sense. Why would he do that?
But not everybody's going to get the situation where you get to go be the head coach of the Cardinals and get the number 1 pick, like Cliff Kingsbury. I'm saying Cliff Kingsbury left Texas Tech to be the head coach at Arizona only because Kyler Murray was the number 1 pick. If Kyler Murray was not being able to be drafted, Cliff Kingsbury
to be offensive coordinator. He left to be a head coach, and he got fired from Texas Tech.
But he wouldn't.
Ryan Day is on the top 5 job in the country as the head coach. He just went toe to toe with Georgia.
I'm
he
not
leaving to be an OC.
Lose his job, but I can see where if he don't beat Michigan, I already see it because you see it from Ohio State fans. They're calling for his job, and who have they talked about even last year? Even I will agree, but even last year when they were like, "Oh, Ryan Day's on the hot seat, and who would be his replacement?" Guess who? The first person that got plugged in. And when rumors start, bro, they don't just always. It ain't just the fans, bro. When rumors start, Mike Vrabel would be their target. So if Tennessee sucks, you don't see it happening. I see it being possible.
You're gonna hire a fired head coach to be and over. I don't know. Whatever y'all drinking in Ohio State, y'all need to stop because y'all panic over crazy. Cruz, does that make sense, Cruz?
It was just.
Does that make sense for him?
Rob, did Washington not just try and learn from Ohio State after we went to the national championship? Was it not rumored that Ryan Day was going to be the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders? They had very, 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 very high interest. Ryan Day just said no. And at the time, it didn't make sense to say no because your seat wasn't hot. Why would I leave? I just went to the national championship. Why am I leaving?
He's going to take a crazy pay cut to be an OC.
I'm saying, he's not going to be
Ohio State.
He's not going to be an OC for forever. Not everybody get to jump from college and be a head coach. Not everybody get to jump from college and immediately be a head coach.
You're not leaving one of the premier elite jobs in college football, making what, $7 million a year to be an offensive coordinator for $1 million or less. Like, no.
You focus so much on my second maybe with the possibility when I literally said Bieniemy would finish out the rest of the season, and then they go and hire Ryan Day as head coach. And I said, worse.
Why would he even be like, yo, oh no, I'm better than her. Like, no, what the head coach? No.
Did you not just hear what I said? Now you're flipping out. You're not even listening. I just said my original scenario was they fire Ron Rivera based off your 1-4 start. They fire Ron Rivera. They upgrade Eric Bieniemy to head coach. Eric Bieniemy finish out the season. They give him his tryout, and they're like, nah, we still gonna move in a different direction because they continue to stink. Boom, we hire Ryan Day as the head coach. I said, or, and I don't really believe the or they try one more year with Eric Bieniemy. They get acclimated Ryan Day to the NFL, and they're like, hey, if Eric Bieniemy sucks, you're going to be the head coach after 1 year anyway. He could be the head coach for Washington, though, and I don't think that would be stupid.
Not doing that.
So you wouldn't leave. What if you wanted to be an NFL head coach?
To be an offensive coordinator.
Focusing on offensive coordinator. You always do that. You didn't listen to the first thing I said. I said
he maybe be a head coach. If you're telling me I'm going to be the head coach of the Washington Commanders, then okay. Then yeah, I'll leave Ohio State to be a head coach in the NFL. Not to be an offensive coordinator and maybe be a head coach in a year or two. The
first thing I said was he would be the head coach. The first thing I said,
head coach.
Head coach.
That's different.
And you still were like, "Oh, why would he leave for to coach the Commanders?" And then I was like,
"Oh, that." Yeah, still, even if you're telling me he's going to be the head coach of the Commanders, it's still tough for me to be like, all right, I'm going to leave Ohio State. But to be a coordinator, like you said, nah, definitely not a coordinator. A head coach, yes.
To be a head coach. But if he wants to be a head coach in the NFL and Washington fired Eric Bieniemy and Ron Rivera, and that's there, it's like, Well, why would you leave a top 5 program to be the head coach? But everybody got to get in somewhere. Cliff Kingsbury was never going to get in if he ain't get in Arizona.
No, that scenario is different. To leave Ohio State to be a head coach with Washington, and he has the top 5 pick or whatever, then yeah, that makes sense. But to be an OC, no.
I think the OC was more outlandish and just like a mutual agreement. If Ryan Day was adamant on getting to the NFL, I don't think that'll happen. But I do think my initial statement was he could be the Washington Commanders head coach, and Mike Vrabel would leave Tennessee and go to Ohio State. My original stance, I think that might be
what fans want.
So let me talk real quick. So first of all,
man.
Mo, can you take the sleeper team off my face?
Yeah,
I feel like Mike Wazowski in the Monsters Inc. movie. His face keeps getting.
My bad. Let me just.
So let me start by saying this. Back when Ryan Day in his first year went to a national championship game, the move possibly made sense to offer him the money to come be the OC. It was his first year. It was still Urban's team. He did that with Urban's team. It would have made sense. Now, probably not so much. I just looked it up. His salary right now is an estimated $6.65 million per year. Eric Bieniemy is making $1 million.
Head coach, though. I'm saying off my list.
Let me finish. Offensive
coordinator shit.
Beyonce had one of the best music videos of all time. I'm gonna let you finish in a minute. We cannot go from Ron Rivera to Eric Bieniemy to Ryan Day in less than 3 years after the shit show we just had with Dan Snyder. And of the coaches that he's had since 1999 when he bought the team, one coach has gotten an extension. That was Jay Gruden. That was the only coach that ever signed an extension under Dan Snyder, was Jay Gruden. We cannot. So to answer your question, Chris, no, the fans, I don't speak for all fans, but I can say with confidence, the fans are not going to want to see Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy, and then Ryan Day in a span of less than 3 years. That's not how we want to start off this new ownership.
But do the fans even want to see, like, if Ron Rivera gets fired, the fans want to see Eric Bieniemy as head coach?
Absolutely.
And that's pretty. You're in the Washington realm. You talk to Washington people. So, like, if Ron Rivera gets fired, there's no give Eric Bieniemy a dress rehearsal for the rest of the year. And if we don't like what we're seeing, let's entertain just an entire new coaching staff. That's not on the table. They don't want to see that on the table. So
within the Commander circle, a lot of people, myself included, that we believe that Josh Harris wanted Eric Bieniemy from the jump. That was part of the whole negotiation. And that's why to go get Eric Bieniemy with the goal of, after this year, regardless of what happens, whether we have a successful season or we don't, Ron Rivera will be given the opportunity to retire. Even if we have a terrible season, go 4-12, 4-13.
That's easy to force retire him.
Right.
Or fire.
Well, and that's the thing. They're not going to fire him. They're going to say, hey, you played, you're not it. Go ahead and just retire. We'll give the keys to Eric Bieniemy. We'll give him the title, give him the salary, and then go from there. Okay, because a lot of people do think the game has passed Ron Rivera up. It passed him up a long time ago. He's a great motivator of men, but he is not a 2023 NFL head coach.
He's a great guy, and you love the head coach. Yeah, you love the man. They love the players. Love the man. I love Ron Rivera. There might be some tears shed if he retires or gets fired. And there's gonna be a lot of great things that if they haven't already been said about Ron Rivera from former teammates. Like, he's gonna have a send away of a lot of love and respect. You could tell people love that man, but you can love a guy and realize hey, bro, it's 2023, dog, and that 2002 coaching style just doesn't work. And you haven't had the Bill Belichick success where we could continue to hold on to you because you're the face of the franchise for so long and won so much for us. If Bill Belichick only wins 2 Super Bowls in the span of 20 years, Bill Belichick isn't a Patriots coach no more. I fully believe that. But when you win 6, bro, you protect your job for a long ass time. Even though you lose Brady, you don't hit on draft picks, you haven't really been good since then. You protected it by winning 6 Super Bowls, being to 9? They went to 9. You get to hold on to the fact that you're outdated coach when you've been to 9 and you're a Super Bowl contender every other year. And I get Ron Rivera, they love him. Yeah, and I get they love him, and I don't want to spend too much time because kickoff is about to start, and I don't want really none of us to miss kickoff. So I appreciate y'all for coming on. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for listening. Make sure you go follow Chris at Off the Ball Pod. Make sure you go follow Rob at FSC Pod. We got a lot of things coming. I think we'll see you Sunday's coming. Overreaction Monday is coming. If I'm not mistaken, it starts this week on Saturday. Hopefully, Rob. If you can't host it, I will.
I'll be there Saturday.
Okay, I was gonna say if you can't host, I'll establish that now. I will. Overreaction Monday, same thing. If you can't host Overreaction Monday, I will. So we have that. I'm sure I'm gonna do something either tomorrow or Saturday to talk more week 2, probably more on UpNFlamez than Field Stormers. Go check out the past 2 Field Stormers. We had previewed the season, recap week 1 and previewed week 2 coming up. So make sure you go check out that and get your college football fix prior to Saturday. You'll get your NFL fix again from the network as a whole on with football and chill, and see you Sunday, and then you'll get another fix on Overreaction Monday. Make sure you go check out Jelani and Thad. Chris was on there. They put together a good show the other day as well. Make sure you go check out the Hoopers. They got something crazy cooking. Can't say much, won't say much, but they got something crazy cooking. They've hinted towards it on Twitter. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for listening. On that note, UpNFlamez.